Hey, everybody. So, welcome back. My name is Kelvin Jenkins. For those of you that don't know me, kind of new to this channel or new to my LinkedIn page or wherever you're finding this information at, think we're live and good to go on. Yep, live and good to go on LinkedIn, YouTube, and then those of you that are here in the actual Riverside app. So, today, as you know, Wednesdays, I tend to talk about AP Business Collective, which is more of the organizational side of the companies that I run. This one is specifically dedicated towards organizations, HR leaders, L&D leaders, those folks that are looking for solutions for the leadership development within their organization. And so I go over topics, tips, things that people aren't really talking about as much, or things that I hear about that you all want to know more information on. I got some requests from the last time, so I figured I'd create a little episode for today. Normally is about 20 minutes. Wednesday, like I said, is more towards the business side. So corporations, companies, small businesses. And then Fridays are more of the personal, you as an individual, you as a leader, what journey are you on and where are you trying to go? So today we'll start off kind of with a little story, kind of like a hook in a story. And I want to start with someone that you probably already know, the manager who hasn't taken a real vacation in 2 years. And not because HR tells them, no, you can't go on vacation, but because if they left, the whole entire department would probably stall out or something bad might happen. And everyone around them calls it commitment. And we know these folks within our organizations. Like we have these team members that will not do it. And we call it commitment, but it's really not. It's really a warning light. And so I work with a leader. I actually have been this kind of leader before. Uh, I've been navigating recently in a lot of county government agencies, and this individual that I ran into, they'll stay nameless. I have a Viva Las Vegas policy that I normally give out inside of all my trainings and facilitation. So that applies to today as well. And it's not really about the them, it's more about the shape of what happened to them. So they got promoted because they were the best in the room. Hypos, for those of you that are in HR, you understand what a hypo is. That means a high performer. They were the best at the actual day to day work, getting stuff done. And nobody trained them on how to lead people. Nobody had to. They just kept doing. And like most of, or many of the employees that I see, most of the leaders that I see, they kept getting promoted. And what kept getting them promoted was that they were able to solve problems. And sometimes you'll run into leaders and like, oh, I'm a great problem solver. Yes. And my question to you is, what problem are you really solving? All right. So 18 months in, this person, they had a whole new team, right? A whole new responsibility. They had been promoted, and their team looked really good on paper. For the most part, performance evaluations were going, as to be expected. A lot of places, it's just a checkbox anyway. And their calendar was gone. Their phone didn't stop. They had all kinds of things going on. And something they said to me, that I still think about was, I don't know when this became my whole life. 18 months in, and they were telling me like my emails, I got all this work going on. My team looks good on paper. Performance evaluations are going fine. But I don't know when this became my life. And that's the pattern that I really want to name today. So it's running in your building right now. It's running in your teams, running maybe adjacent to you. You might be being run by this pattern. And it's at least happening if you're inside of HR or L&D or training and development. It is definitely happening to at least one of, and that's being really nice. It's probably not just happening to one, but it's happening to at least one of your best people. And it looks so much like dedication that nobody is stopping it. No one is pulling the lever to say, hey, this is an issue. And so I'm going to name what the problem is. Because what's really happening underneath that label of dedication, um, there's some issues. And let me see if this will work for me today. If I can pull this up, let's see. All right, maybe. I've been practicing, and LinkedIn gave me a new thing today where I have to now create events in order to go live. So you have to do it ahead of time. I didn't know that that was like the new thing that they were giving me, but it is what it is. All right. Anyway, so when we're falsely labeling this thing as like dedication, what we're really not seeing is that it's a loop. And this loop has four turns and it repeats until somebody names it. And so I am, like I said, I'm going to try to share this real quick so I can draw it out for you. I discovered this a few years ago, inadvertently, I feel like, to some degree, but I've been calling it ever since the cycle of stuck. So if we are in a loop, let's look at it like this. Can you all see that? Yeah. All right, let's make this bigger. Let's do this. We're in a loop. Of course, then I'll do it perfect. There we go. My loop looks janky. Don't judge me. All right, so loop number one. This is the area where most people first run into the problem. You become a manager, and so you start to solve because someone brings you a problem. So the team brings problem, leader solves. This is the first step to getting stuck. And many of you may not understand this, but when your team is bringing you a problem and you feel as though I have the answer, and then you ship it and then you move on, that is sometimes the start of this cycle of stuck. Turn number two, after you've given out this answer, this gold, this solution, the team steps back. So, why bring a fully worked problem when the fast path from now on is going to be just to ask you? And slowly, because you keep continuing to do this, the team understands that there may be a need to just stop trying first and just bring you the problem because you're going to solve it because you identified in your mind that that's what you're good at. Remember, that's why you got promoted, was because you were a fantastic problem solver. You were fantastic at your job. You are an amazing individual contributor. And yet, you're no longer an IC, an individual contributor. You are now the leader of a team. But old habits, like the saying goes, you can finish the rest. And if you can, I'll tell you, old habits die hard. So now we'll go on to step number three. So after the team has brought you the problem, you've decided that you have the solution, you're going to solve it, and the team starts to step back. You, as the leader, you, as the manager, now you start to take on more work. And this is not just a physical taking on of projects and assignments, but it's also a cognitive and a mental load that now you're owning because it's your solution. It was your idea, it was your thing. And now you want to make sure that it gets across the finish line just the way you had it in your mind and your vision. So now you're catching all the things that the team no longer has to catch. Their job does not grow, they do not develop, but your job starts to grow every single month, every single week. Every single problem now becomes a compound issue because you own it, whether you own it mentally, whether you own the responsibility of getting it across the finish line. You have taken responsibility for something that wasn't yours to take responsibility for in the first place. So I don't want to be mean. I'm not saying it's your fault. I am saying that you're involved. And I think that that's a fair kind of space. Now, I don't say it's your fault because this is stuff that we don't know to do. So it's not like, oh, you're the pro, like it's you. It's I'm not here to beat you up. I'm not here to beat up your teams. But if you're in leadership and development, if you're an OD, if you're an HR, if you're a leader in these spaces, or even if you're a team member and you're hearing this, or if you're a small business owner and you're hearing this and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing that. Don't take it personal as far as like, oh my God, that hurts my feelings. I'm offended. Take it personal as like, okay, I see that's happening. Now what can I do? All right, let's close out all four steps though. So then the fourth step, what ends up happening, and this is really where it becomes kind of like the crutch moment, right? The team starts to rely on you for everything. Everything. And that is the culmination of where this starts to lead to. Nothing significant moves without you. If they left tomorrow, um, the team left, you would carry the work. But if you left tomorrow, nobody is ready to carry that load. Nobody is ready to carry what you're already carrying. No one else has the capacity because we haven't been building that up inside of those around us. And now we have a problem. And I call this entire thing, let's see if I can get some space and some color here. Oh, some people can't see red. Let me not do that. Hopefully it's not. Let's do orange. Cycle of stuck. And it's literally a cycle because it's not just that, oh, I went to step one and I'm in step one all the time, or I'm in step two all the time. No, I'm going from here, then I'm moving on, then I'm moving on, then I'm moving on, then it's coming back around because it's going to be another problem. So sit in this meeting where this loop has already taken hold, and you'll feel it before anyone else says a word. One person is talking, everyone else is waiting to hear what they think before they'll say what they think. That's not a quiet team. That's not a bunch of introverts inside of the room. Could be. Chances are it's not. Chances are that's a room where one person has all the answers and everyone else has agreed without a vote to stop having any. And here's the part that I need you to really like hear me on clearly, like, because this is where it really matters. Again, this is not a character problem. It's not a character flaw. It's not, oh, just that one manager that just terrible. Now, there are those folks who just, I've said this out loud before. Some people just don't want to be good leaders. And that's totally different topic. We can talk about that another day. That's a whole separate issue of like coaching, managing up, managing out. That's a whole different thing for today. For this moment, we're talking about the managers that are not control freaks. And so this person that this is happening to is not a control freak necessarily. There's a whole myriad of things we have to go through to figure out if that's really the case. And it's not necessarily that their teams are lazy. Some people would just be like, oh, my team is just, they're not motivated, they're whatever, they're not really helping me. Maybe because they haven't been given the opportunity to by the leader that's inside the seat. And so we have to take accountability for that. This is a systems failure. I want you to hone in on that and be crystal clear that this is a systems failure. Four turns of a loop that any of us could fall into because it works. Because if I'm an individual contributor and I'm fantastic at my job, and this is what I know, the system has taught me from high school, elementary school, middle school, to raise my hand when I have the answer, not an idea, when I have the answer. I raise my hand to give the teacher the answer that they need. All right. When I get to college, I'm striving for A's. I'm striving to be the best. I am striving to get the good job. I'm striving to get the good interview. I'm striving to be the candidate. It's an entire system. And then once you get into the role, you are working your butt off to make sure, like, I am working really, really, really hard to make sure that I am getting good performance evaluations on my work because my work is good. It's a systems issue. It's not always the people. So this is where I want to give you language. Like, I want you to be able to talk about it because once you can name a pattern, you can interrupt a pattern. It's just like when we talk about like emotional intelligence and Daniel Goleman and these different individuals. Like, I have to one identify what's happening with me first, and then I can interrupt it. Before I can manage behavior, I have to understand what the behavior is. So the loop I just described isn't a rumor. It's not like, oh, Kelvin, how you really know? And I get questioned all the time. Like, I look really young. I'm much older than I probably appear to most people. I thought when I shaved my head, people would think I was older, but they still don't. It shocks them still to this day. So I've worked in a lot of places. I've done consulting work for Harvard University. I've worked for Kaiser Permanente for almost a decade of my career, going from individual contributor all the way up to senior consultant, managing teams, putting teams together. Like, I've done this stuff. Like, I'm not new to this world. I've also worked for global organizations and I've done a lot of work for counties, for city government, for CalSTRS, like you name it. I've probably touched that industry somewhere along the lines of my career. And I have a full stack coaching. I've done stuff. But just in case you don't believe me, because people like bigger names than mine, Gallup State of the Global Workplace just recently. Oh, maybe not recent. Recent is a loose term in research. So they found something that maybe will stop you and stop any executive that's on here or any team member that you share this with. Like, yeah, right. Managers are now the most burnt out layer, according to Gallup, in the entire organization. Not your entry level folks. It's not even the C suite. Even though I've worked with some CEOs that are navigating through some stuff, they're not as burnt out. It's the middle. It's the squeezed middle manager layer. The people carrying the cycle of stuck for everyone above them and below them. And so Gallup puts that cost, I think, at around like 8.8 trillion, something like that. Like the cost of disengagement, I think is what they labeled it as, is $8.8 trillion. And that is not me making up a number. That's what I'm researching and I'm seeing and I'm getting back from these sources. That's the size of the problem when you let a loop run instead of naming it. And in case you still don't believe what I'm talking about, um, Harvard's don't fail me now, brain. Amy Edmondson explains that she explains the quiet room I described a minute ago. She talks about it as teams go quiet, and when it isn't safe to do like when it isn't safe to attempt to try, when it's not safe to attempt something and you may fail. So people will wait and they'll wait to be told. I have been this person that's waited to be told what to do because being told is safer than being wrong out loud. I was at a company recently and I've done all this. I'm telling you this. I've experienced this. I coach people on this. And yet and still, if you don't have support to help you out of these cycles, you'll fall into it. Being told was safer in my last role that I was at than being wrong out loud. And part of that was some other stuff was going on in the background, but that's not a motivation problem either. That's a safety problem. And your manager, some of the managers that you are developing, some of the ones that you promoted, sometimes they're building that problem without meaning to. One solved problem at a time. They're trying to solve the thing that people are bringing to them, not realizing that the thing that people are bringing to them is their development opportunity. So you should let them develop. So here's my framework. Like, here's my framework for getting out of it. You'll hear me talk about MAP all the time: mindsets, actions, and people. Like, those are the three things that matter the most. And mindset is first and foremost because, like I mentioned, for Daniel Goleman and different ones that deal with emotional intelligence and just taking action, you have to have the mindset to do it first. Michael Parker, a gentleman that I highly respect, he We were inside of a training and he was like, when do people do what they want? Like, when do people change? When do people like, when do they make the change in their lives? And everyone's like, well, when they feel motivated, when something happens. And at the end of it, he's like, no, people change when they want to, when they decide to, when it's what you really want. But you don't decide anything without first having the mind to do it. So mindset first, because the loop starts as a belief. It's not just a behavior. So your best managers genuinely believe quietly that being named and being needed and saving people and solving people is the same thing as being valuable. And no one said that out loud in the performance review. No one said you need to be named. No one said your value is in this. No one said it outright, but it isn't how we've measured them this whole time. So we've been saying we've created the culture, we've created the environment, we've created this whole thing for them to really believe that my performance, my sole performance, is based on me bringing value through solving problems, putting out fires. And unless you're a firefighter and typically an engineer inside of that, and there's a whole myriad of other roles, your job is not to put out fires on a regular basis. You didn't get hired to do that. So it's really the mindset underneath every one of those four turns that I was talking to you about in the cycle of stuck. All right, and I'll be quick about this. I'll let you go in just a minute. Then it's action. So, right, we hit on mindset, then action. So, once a person has decided, once they believe, once they know, then you have to do. It's not just like, oh, I stay in thinking, I stay in, yeah, motivation, yeah. No, you have to do something. Like, you literally have to do in order to become. Because insight without a new behavior is just self awareness with good vocab, good wording, good language. The behavior that breaks the loop has a name, and I call it coaching the swing. So there's two questions and that you can try and you can ask them in this order. Every single time someone brings you a problem or brings your managers a problem, ask them, hey, what have you already tried? An alternative to what have you tried is what have we done in the past? That's number one. Then oh, I should have shifted from this. I stopped sharing this a long time ago. Let me get y'all like real close. Then what do you think the right answer is? Ask those. What have you tried? What do you think the right answer is? When you ask, don't stack them. Ask one at a time. Be quiet. Listen to them, and then after they give you an answer, what do you think the right answer is? What do you think we should do next? That's the entire intervention. That is the first step of action that you can give to your leaders. It's not a training, it's not a workshop. Like I offer those, we can work through it. The practice is really where this is going to solidify and become behavior versus just someone taking some steps and they get some questions answered. Because I'm an ardent believer that practice makes permanent. So we have to give people the right parameters to practice in. It doesn't make perfect, it just makes permanent. Okay. So, two different questions. At the exact moment, the manager or you would normally just take a swing themselves. Someone brings something like, hey, Kelvin, this thing's going on. One, two, and three. It's like, oh, yeah, well, go tell so and so to do this. No. Instead, hit them like, oh, okay. What have you tried? How's the conversation going? Like, ask a question. And then the next question is, what do you think we should do next? Game changer. All right, and then the last, and I'll rush through this one. The last one is the people, because the whole point is that what happens to the team, not just the manager's calendar, is going to be impacted on this step. When the swing goes back to your team enough times, when they get enough practices at trying, something starts to shift in them as well as you, as well as the leader, right? And I've watched this happen in so many leaders. Yeah, Viva Las Vegas. If you're one of my coachees and you're watching this, you know that this is true. So, the same shift I've watched in every leader who's made it out of the loop, when they go from executor to developer, that's what starts to transition in their minds. And their team's minds start shifting too, because now they're going to start bringing solutions when they come to you with stuff, not just question, not just, hey, there's a problem. No, they're going to have idea because you're going to ask me. They're going to get conditioned to be like, every time I bring you something, you ask me a question. Yes, because I didn't hire you to have me do your job. You got hired in this organization because you have value. All right. Anyway, so what the leader starts to do themselves is they transition from needing to be praised immediately because they were an executor. Every solved problem is a visible win, right? The developer side that they start to become is invisible at first. Nobody's going to clap for you when you ask your team members a question. No one's going to celebrate the fact that you didn't solve it. But remember what I mentioned, your team is now getting conditioned. So that invisibility gap is exactly why so many other managers don't become capable. It's because no one warned them what the right move would really look like. And for a long time, I'm it's gonna feel like you're doing less and you're not because your team is transforming. All right. I have spent a lot of time trying to navigate through a little bit of that. Hopefully, this has been helpful. Again, my name is Kelvin Jenkins. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening in. I hope to see you next time. Again, Friday, I'll be back on LinkedIn. I'll start doing these events in a different way as LinkedIn is now asking me to. Then you can catch these as well as on YouTube and different places. August the 4th, I hope I'm getting my dates right. August the 4th, I'll be doing a live webinar that will be all about how do you and your team and those individuals that are really looking to get into leadership, can you actually lead? And I'll give you a newsflash, yes, you can. And we're going to go over what it's really going to take in order to do so. So again, Kelvin Jenkins, thank you all for spending some time with me today. I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.